Welcome, tennis fans, to what might just be the most defining moment of the 2026 grass court season so far. We are standing on the precipice of history, looking down at a storyline so rich, so fraught with psychological drama, that it feels like it was ripped straight out of Hollywood sports thriller. Today, we are breaking down a monumental clash set to take place at the Edgbaston Priory Club for the 2026 Birmingham Open Final. It is a WTA 125 event, but do not let the tournament category fool you. The stakes here feel like a Grand Slam final for two women involved. On one side of the net, we have the pride of the Philippines, the 21-year-old phenom, world number 37, and the tournament's top seed, ALEXANDRA EALA. On the other side, we have her contemporary, her doubles partner, and the tournament's fifth seed, the 20-year-old rising star from Czechia, NIKOLA BARTUNKOVA. But this is not just a match between the top seed and the fifth seed. This is not just a battle for a trophy or the massive ranking points, or a share of the $225,000 prize pool. No, this match represents something far more profound, something that has become a dark cloud hovering over an otherwise brilliant and meteoric rise. We are talking about the infamous, the dreaded, the seemingly insurmountable Czech curse. For the uninitiated, let me paint a picture of exactly what Alex EALA has accomplished over the last few years. She has transformed from a teenage prodigy training at the Rafa Nadal Academy into a bona fide global tennis superstar. She has captivated a nation, filling stadiums from Miami to Manila, from Indian Wells to London, with raucous, passionate Filipino fans. She has climbed into the top 40 of the world rankings. She has scored victories over some of the most formidable players on the WTA Tour. Just earlier this year, in March, she sent shockwaves to the tennis world by reaching the round of 16 at Indian Wells, a run highlighted by a stunning performance against world number 4 Coco Gauff, where EALA was leading 6-2, 2-love before Gauff was forced to retire due to injury. She followed that up with another incredible run at the Miami Open, cementing her status as one of the elite hardcourt players of her generation. She has won on the WTA 125 level before, capturing the title in Guadalajara last September. She has the power, she has the baseline mastery, she has a movement, and she has the sheer force of will to beat almost anyone in the world. Almost anyone. Because for all of her undeniable brilliance, for all of her historic firsts for the Philippines, Alex EALA has hit a massive, impenetrable brick wall whenever she looks across the net and sees the flag of the Czech Republic. It is a statistical anomaly that has morphed into a full-blown psychological barrier. 13 times in her professional career, Alex EALA has faced a player from Czechia. 13 times she has walked off the court in defeat. 0 wins, 13 losses. It is a staggering number. In a sport where any player inside the top 100 can beat any other player on a given day, an 0-13 record against a single nationality is mind-boggling. The list of her Czech conquerors reads like a who's who of Eastern European tennis royalty and rising prodigies. She has fallen to Grand Slam champions like Marketa Vondrousova at the Canadian Open and Barbara Krejcikova in a heartbreaking 3-setter on center court at Wimbledon. She has been dismantled by established veterans like Karolina Machova, who gave her a 60-minute 6-love, 6-2 clinic at the Miami Open just a few months ago. She has been edged out by her generational peers like Linda Noskova and Teresa Valentova, the latter beating her twice in straight sets over the past year. From Anastasia Zarica back in 2020 on the ITF circuit to Katerina Siniakova and Marie Bouzkova on the main tour, every time EALA faces the Czechs, the result is the same. The Czech players, known for their powerful, flat, penetrating ground strokes and tactical brilliance, seem to possess the exact antidote to EALA's game. But today, on the lush green grass of Birmingham, the narrative has a chance to change. The stage is set for the ultimate narrative climax. EALA has been an absolute force of nature this week. She has dropped only a single-set all-tournament, carving her way through the draw with the precision of a seasoned veteran. She dispatched Priscilla Hahn, took down Alina Kariva, overpowered Maninkaya Sawanki, and survived a rain-delayed, hard-fought semifinal battle against the dangerous Swiss player Rebecca Mazarova, winning 6-2, 4-6, 6-3. EALA is playing with a visible fire, an intensity that suggests she is tired of the questions, tired of the doubts, and tired of the curse. And waiting for her in the final is NIKOLA Bartunkova. The irony here is almost too perfect to believe. Bartunkova is not a stranger to Eala. They are not bitter enemies who refuse to look at each other in the locker room. In fact, they are doubles partners right here in this very tournament. Just last week, on June 1st, Eala and Bartunkova stood side by side on the same side of the net, battling the British duo of Harriet Dart and Maya Lumsden. They lost that match in a heartbreaking match tiebreak, 4-6, 6-2, 9-11. After that devastating loss as partners, they retreated to their respective corners of the singles draw, and both women have played flawless, inspired tennis to navigate their way to the championship match. Bartunkova, currently ranked 69th in the world, has proven her mettle on the grass this week, battling through a brutal draw. She enacted a measure of revenge for her doubles loss by defeating Harriet Dart in the singles draw, then took down Gabriela Andrea Knudsen, Mika Stotts-Evljevic, and the powerful American Ashlyn Kruger in a tense semifinal that ended 6-4, 7-6. Bartunkova is playing the tennis of her life, holding a 21-11 win-loss record for the year, and she is looking for a breakthrough title of her own. She brings a classic Czech pedigree, big serving, aggressive returning, and a complete lack of fear on the big points. For Bartunkova, this is about proving she belongs in the upper echelon of the sport. But for Eala, this is about exorcising demons. This is about stepping onto the court, looking at a Czech player, and finally finding the answer. This is about taking the momentum she has built all week, all year, all career, and using it to smash through the final barrier holding her back. The narrative is set. The history is written. But today, the future is up for grabs. Will the Czech curse claim its 14th victim, or will Alex Eala finally break the spell and lift the trophy in Birmingham? Keep watching, because we are about to dive deep into the tactical matchups, the historical context, and the psychological warfare that will define this championship battle. To truly understand the magnitude of what is going to happen on the grass courts of Birmingham today, we have to peel back the layers of this story. We have to look at the anatomy of the Czech curse, the evolution of Alex Eala as a player, the unique challenge that NIKOLA Bartunkova presents, and the specific dynamics of grass court tennis that will dictate the flow of this match. This is not just a game of hitting a yellow ball back and forth. This is high-speed physical chess, played by two of the brightest young minds in the sport, with immense historical baggage weighing on every single point. Let us start by dissecting the elephant in the room. Eala's 0-13 record against players from the Czech Republic. How does a player of Eala's caliber, a player who can stand toe-to-toe with Grand Slam champions, a player who famously rattled Coco Gauff at Indian Wells, a player who has marched her way into the top 40 in the world, fail so completely against one specific nation? To figure this out, we have to look at the systemic approach of the Czech tennis development program. The Czech Republic has arguably the most consistently successful pipeline of female tennis talent in the world. They teach a very specific, highly aggressive brand of tennis from a very young age. Czech players are typically known for taking the ball incredibly early, hitting flat, deep ground strokes that skid to the court, and possessing world-class serving mechanics. They are taught to rob their opponents of time. Alex Eala, on the other hand, was molded in the Spanish tradition at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Eala is a brilliant counterpuncher who has evolved into an aggressive baseliner. She uses heavy topspin, incredible court coverage, and angles to slowly dismantle her opponents. Eala likes to construct points. She likes to find her rhythm, move her opponent side to side, and strike when the court opens up. The problem with playing the Czechs is that they do not let you construct points. Players like Machova, Noskova, and Krejcikova step inside the baseline and attack the ball before it even reaches the peak of its bounce. They flatten out their shots, hitting through the heavy topspin that Eala relies on. This stylistic clash is the root of the curse. Every time Eala tries to settle into a rhythm, the Czech players hit a flat, penetrating shot that rushes her, forcing her into defensive positions and drawing unforced errors. We saw this exact dynamic play out at the Miami Open earlier this year. Eala came into Miami riding high, having just reached the round of 16 at Indian Wells. She was confident. She was hitting the ball beautifully, and she ran smack into Karolina Machova. Machova, currently ranked 14th in the world, put on an absolute masterclass. She didn't let Eala breathe. She used her slice to keep the ball low. She came to the net, and she hit through the court with devastating precision. Eala lost that match 6-love, 6-2 in just 60 minutes. It was a stark reminder that no matter how much Eala had improved her power and her fitness, the Czech style of play was still a massive, unsolvable puzzle. Even against younger Czech players like Tereza Valentova, who beat Eala at the Qatar Open and the Japan Women's Open, the pattern remains the same. Flat hitting, early timing, relentless pressure. But here is where the narrative starts to shift. Here is why the 2026 Birmingham Open feels different. It comes down to the surface. Grass. Grass court tennis is a completely different sport compared to hard courts or clay courts. The ball stays incredibly low, the bounces can be unpredictable, and the speed of the court rewards first strike tennis above all else. You cannot slide on grass the way you can on clay. You cannot sit back and defend the way you can on a slow, hard court. On grass, you have to be aggressive. You have to serve well, return deep, and move forward. And surprisingly, Alex Eala has adapted beautifully to the grass. Despite her heavy topspin background, Eala has flattened out her forehand significantly over the past year. She has shortened her backswing, allowing her to take the ball earlier, the exact thing the Czech players usually do to her. Her slice backhand, which she uses as a defensive neutralizing shot on other surfaces, becomes an offensive weapon on grass, skidding low and forcing opponents to hit up on the ball. Eala's run to final this week has been characterized by aggressive returning and brilliant point construction in short, sharp rallies. She hasn't been dragged into long, grinding baseline rallies. She has been dictating play. Now, let's look at NIKOLA BARTUNKOVA. The 20-year-old Czech is the 5th seed, ranked 69th in the world. She has had a phenomenal 2026 season, boasting a 21-11 record. She is tall, standing at 6 feet, which gives her a massive advantage on serve. On grass, a big serve is the ultimate equalizer. Bartunkova has been bombing aces and unreturnable serves all week. In her semifinal against Ashlyn Kruger, she was under immense pressure but held her nerve, winning a tight 2-setter, 6-4, 7-6, by simply refusing to blink on her service games. Bartunkova hits flat hard and fast, the quintessential Czech game. This creates a fascinating tactical battle for the final. Because Eala and Bartunkova played doubles together earlier this week, there are no secrets here. They know exactly how the other strikes the ball. They know each other's serving patterns, their preferred return stances, their movement tendencies. In their doubles match, Eala saw firsthand how Bartunkova's serve jumps off the grass. Bartunkova saw firsthand how Eala can rip a passing shot down the line when given a target. The familiarity breeds contempt, but it also breeds a high-level chess match. For Eala to win this match and break the curse, she must win the battle of court positioning. She cannot allow Bartunkova to step inside the baseline and dictate the rallies. If Eala starts dropping back, giving Bartunkova time to set her feet and unload her flat ground strokes, it will be a repeat of Miami. It will be a repeat of Indian Wells. It will be a repeat of Wimbledon. Eala must hold her ground on the baseline. She has to use her incredible footwork to get the ball early and redirect Bartunkova's pace. Furthermore, Eala's return of serve will be the most critical shot of the match. Bartunkova is going to bring the heat. Eala doesn't need to hit clean winners off the return. She just needs to get the ball deep down the middle court, right at Bartunkova's feet, neutralizing the first strike and forcing the tall Czech to bend her knees and hit up on the second shot. From a mental standpoint, the pressure on Eala is astronomical. Every journalist in the press room has asked her about the Czech curse. Every fan on social media is talking about the 0-13 record. When she steps onto the court, she isn't just playing NIKOLA BARTUNKOVA. She's playing the ghosts of Machova, Noskova, Vondrousova, and Krejcikova. She is playing her own history of frustration. In her recent interviews, Eala has shown incredible maturity regarding this topic. She has acknowledged the struggle, stating that she is still learning the ropes, still getting stronger, and still finding ways to counter the power-hitting era of the WTA. She understands that she has different layers to her game, that she doesn't just have to out-hit her opponents. She can outthink them, and that mental resilience is what has defined her 2026 season. Think back to Miami Open, where she was defending massive points from her semifinal run the previous year. She knew the pressure was on, She knew she was a marked woman, and despite the brutal loss to Machova, she maintained her perspective, noting that she was grateful for the opportunities and using the loss as fuel for the rest of the season. She carried that maturity into the clay season, into the French Open, and now onto the grass in Birmingham. She is a 21-year-old with the mindset of a veteran. She knows that to be a Grand Slam champion, to crack the top 20, the top 10, she has to go through the Czech players. There is no alternative path. The road to tennis immortality is paved with the flat, hard-hitting ground strokes of Eastern Europe. Bartunkova, meanwhile, has everything to gain and nothing to lose. She is a lower-ranked player. She is not carrying the weight of a national curse. She is playing freely, backed by a booming serve and the confidence of a phenomenal week. She wants to add her name to the long list of Czech players who have tormented the Filipina star. She wants to take home the Birmingham Open title and establish herself as the next great star of her country. She will look to use her height advantage, her serve +1 combinations, and her knowledge of Eala's game from their doubles partnership to keep Eala off balance. When the chair umpire calls play, we will witness a clash of styles, a clash of mentalities, and a clash of national sporting cultures. Eala's topspin versus Bartunkova's flat drives. Eala's agility versus Bartunkova's power. The Spanish-trained counterpuncher versus the Czech first-strike machine. If Eala can stay aggressive, serve consistently, and neutralize Bartunkova's power, she has the all-around game to dismantle the giant. But if she hesitates, if she lets the history of the curse creep into her mind, Bartunkova will hit right through her. This is not just a tennis match. This is a psychological thriller playing out in real time on one of the fastest, most unforgiving surfaces in the sport. As we look ahead to the first serve of this monumental final, it is impossible to overstate what this victory would mean for ALEXANDRA EALA and for the entire nation of the Philippines. Tennis has historically been a sport dominated by Europe, North America, and Australia. The emergence of a genuine superstar from Southeast Asia has fundamentally changed the global landscape of the WTA. Everywhere Eala goes, she brings an army of supporters. The Filipino diaspora shows up in droves, turning quiet tennis stadiums into roaring arenas, waving flags, and providing an atmosphere that few players on tour ever get to experience. They have lived through every high and every low of Eala's career. They cheered when she won the U.S. Open Junior title. They cried when she reached the Miami Open semifinals. And they have agonized through every single one of those 13 losses to the Czech Republic. For Eala, winning the 2026 Birmingham Open is about more than adding a second WTA 125 trophy to her cabinet. It is about shattering a glass ceiling that has hung over her head for 4 years. In elite professional sports, the difference between a good player and a great player is not physical. It is entirely mental. It is the ability to confront your greatest fear, to face the exact style of play that has systematically dismantled you, and to finally say, no more. Breaking the Czech curse against NIKOLA Bartunkova would send a message to the rest of the locker room. It would tell Karolina Machova, Linda Noskova, and Barbara Krejcikova that the code has been cracked. It would prove that Eala's game has evolved beyond its previous limitations, that her power has caught up to her tactical brilliance, and that she is ready to make a serious, deep run at Wimbledon in the coming weeks. A win today would solidify her place in the top 40, padding her ranking points and ensuring she is seated at the upcoming Grand Slams, protecting her from facing the absolute top-tier players in the opening rounds. It would inject a massive dose of confidence into her game right at the peak of the grass court season. But more than the math, more than the money, this is about legacy. Eala has already cemented herself as the greatest Filipina tennis player in history, but she does not want to stop there. She wants to be a Grand Slam champion. She wants to be world number 1. And to reach the summit of the mountain, you have to slay the dragons that guard the path. For Alex Eala, those dragons have always spoken Czech. On the flip side, we must acknowledge the immense talent and determination of NIKOLA Bartunkova. If the 20-year-old Czech phenom takes the title today, it will be a spectacular coronation of her own arrival on the big stage. It will validate the legendary Czech developmental system once again, proving that their factory of tennis talent simply never stops producing world-class athletes. A win for Bartunkova would vault her up the rankings, establish her as a terrifying dark horse for Wimbledon, and keep the infamous curse alive and well, adding another chapter to the lore of Eala's struggles. This match is a guarantee of high drama. The contrasting styles, the shared history as doubles partners, the incredible form both women have shown this week, and the overwhelming weight of the 0-13 record all combined to create a perfect storm of tennis television. Will we see Eala dictate with her forehand, sliding the ball low and wide, pulling the tall checkout position? Or will we see Bartunkova step up, unleash her massive serve, and hit flat, unreturnable winners to the grass? The tension is palpable. The stage is set at the Edgbaston Priory Club. The grass is freshly mowed. The lines are painted crisp and white, and two of the brightest young stars in the sport are about to go to war. For Alex Eala, the mission is simple, yet incredibly complex. Hit the ball, trust the process, and break the curse. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive analysis. Enjoy the match, witness the history, and we will see you next time for the fallout of the 2026 Birmingham Open Final.